Fabulous people, welcome to the channel for all the babes who create their own life trends. My name is Anastasia and today I'm going to share with you 10 biggest mistakes people make when planning a trip to Italy. And if you're wondering how am I qualified to give you this kind of travel advice, as most of you know, I moved from the US to Italy many years ago and created a fabulous Vita travel agency, creating hundreds of customized trips to Italy for people from all over the world. So today, I'm going to share with you my top Italy travel tips, which I'm sure most of them you've never heard of before. And I promise by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to plan a trip to Italy. Now, before we begin, please remember to smack that like button. And if you're new to my channel and my vibe and the vibe of this channel resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe. All right, fabulous people, let's get started. All right, fabulous people, the first travel mistake that I see people making over and over again when planning a trip to Italy is assuming that September and October are low season months for Italy. I cannot tell you how many times when I get on the initial Zoom call with a client who plans on visiting Italy in September or October, they all start by saying, Anastasia, I chose this month because the kids will be back to school, so it won't be as busy. Fabulous people, I'm sure you've heard me say this in many of my videos, but September and October are two busiest months for tourism in Italy. Why? Well, partially because everyone has exactly the same thinking as you do. They're trying to avoid the crowds. And two, because the weather in September and October is a perfection. So millions of people travel to Italy during September and October in hopes of having Italy all to themselves. And instead they find huge crowds, long lines, and double or even triple prices for accommodations, transportation, tours, and everything in between. Now, fabulous people, I am not trying to talk you out of traveling to Italy in September and October because, as I mentioned, the weather in Italy during these 2 months is some of the best out of the entire year. And if you do a proper planning, be it by yourself or with the right travel agency, you will be able not to overspend, avoid huge crowds even to the popular sites, and have the most fabulous time in Italy. Number 2, booking an accommodation without having a proper knowledge of the area and location. I cannot tell you how many times I have to redo the work of US travel agencies who place their clients in not the most convenient or safe areas of the city simply because they don't have a proper knowledge that a local travel agency would when it comes to the areas of the city, be it in Rome, Venice, Florence, Milan, etc. If you're not well familiar with location or the layout of the city, you might end up in accommodation that is either not the most convenient for sightseeing, located on a very loud street so you're not going to get any proper sleep, or worse, in the area that is not the safest, especially at night. So what I recommend is to do a thorough research and a deep dive of the area. See it on the map with respect to other sites, read reviews, see the rating of the hotel or accommodation on different sites, etc. Another thing that I see happening often when people book their accommodations or their travel agents book their accommodations is that they opt for a standard hotel chain or accommodation that lacks any kind of local charm just because they're familiar with that hotel chain in the US. The criteria that you need to take into account when you start looking for accommodations in Italy, and one of the first things we do with my team when we start working with clients, is to look for central and safe location, away from tourist crowds so you can get proper sleep, but at the same time within walking distance to all the main sites, be it in Florence, Venice, Rome, Milan, etc. And has this traditional local charm of the region, be it a Tuscan countryside or Amalfi Coast. One of the biggest travel mistakes people make when they plan their vacation in Italy is waiting until nearly the last minute to start booking everything, especially when it comes to tours and restaurants. Guys, I cannot tell you how often people reach out to my travel agency 2 to 3 weeks prior to their departure, asking us to book tours, activities, or make restaurant reservations, be it in Amalfi Coast, Venice, Florence, Rome, Milan, etc. And actually, it happened even this morning. I had a family who reached out to me who is traveling to Italy next week, and they don't even have accommodations reserved. So guys, I want to make sure that you all have the most special and memorable time in Italy. So please, take this Italy travel advice and use it to your advantage. If you want to have lots of options when it comes to the best accommodations, tours, tour guides, authentic local restaurants, you have to start booking as early as possible. The longer you wait, the higher the prices will get and the less options you will have when it comes to the best tours, excellent tour guides, beautiful central accommodations, etc. If this is your first time travel to Italy, I know it is very tempting to pack as many places, activities, tours as possible. But this is one of the travel mistakes I want to make sure none of you makes. The best way to travel Italy and to actually enjoy it to the fullest is to have that perfect sweet spot between exploring and relaxing. What I recommend is spending 3-4 nights in bigger cities that have a lot to offer when it comes to sightseeing and experiences, like Rome or Florence. And 1-2 nights in cities like Venice or small towns in Tuscany like Pitigliano that are absolutely gorgeous but can be easily explored and experienced in shorter period of time. But of course, Italy trip planning goes far beyond that. There are so many small details that need to be taken into account and that are crucial for a stress-free, enjoyable vacation. Let's take activities, for example. What I see happening all the time is that people or their travel agents overpack their daily schedule with activities. For example, in the morning you go to tour Vatican museums, and then in the afternoon you have Colosseum and Forum, and then in the evening you have a food tour. This kind of schedule will make you question all your life choices by the end of the day. Trust me. If any of your travel agents offer even something remotely similar to this kind of schedule, run. When planning a trip to Italy, you need to take into account tiny details, like, for example, if you want to explore Pompeii during the summer months, you should know that the temperatures in Italy, in the south, are extremely high. And since Pompeii pretty much offers no shade, you should explore it as early as possible in the morning, especially if it's difficult for you to handle direct sun and heat. Another thing that you need to know before you go to Italy is how to book train tickets in Italy. Now, not so much a process of booking tickets, as I made a lot of videos on trains in Italy topic, but small nuances. For example, the schedule for regional trains, especially for less traveled routes, becomes available later than for high-speed trains. So in case you already bought your high-speed train tickets and you keep checking the website and there are still no regional trains available for your route, don't worry. This is Italy. Things unfortunately happen here a little bit slower. Just be patient. Another very important thing for you to know when it comes to purchasing tickets, especially for high-speed trains, is that there is this perfect sweet spot for booking tickets. You don't want to book them too early in advance, as not all the ticket options become available, hence the prices tend to be higher and or you might only get options where you will have to switch trains. The closer you'll get to your travel date, the more options you're going to have. And on top of that, a lot of times trains will start running promotions like a family rate or two for the price of one ticket, etc. Now, you don't want to wait too long because the times that you might want will no longer be available. And also, if you're traveling as a large family, it might be difficult for you to sit all together. So yes, there is an art even to buying tickets in Italy. Choosing the wrong travel agency. Of course, there are numerous excellent travel agencies around the world, but way too often I see trips to Italy being organized by unqualified travel agencies. The entire travel industry needs to do better at organizing trips to Italy for people. As travel agents, we have a responsibility to create the most special and memorable trips to Italy for people with their loved ones. Way too often, I see travel agents with the most basic knowledge of Italy calling themselves experts on Italy travel. So please, before you commit to any travel agency, make sure that they're qualified to create a trip to Italy for you. Make sure that you find out where their expertise in Italy actually comes from. If they spend a considerable amount of time in Italy and not just visited it from time to time, but actually lived here and truly understands local traditions, culture, and nuances, that will make all the difference in the world when they start planning a trip for you. If they're recommending that specific hotel, a tour, a restaurant, an activity, ask them why are they recommending that specific place. Have they eaten themselves at that local restaurant? Have they taken that specific tour or an activity? Why are they recommending that specific wine tasting or a cooking class? Have they traveled extensively to those parts of Italy they are organizing your trip on? Make sure that they have an extensive knowledge of Italy as well as a team on the ground here in Italy, and make sure that they are available not only US time but also Italy time, because you guys know there is a big time difference between two countries. And in case of any emergency, in case you missed your train connection or you cannot find your tour guide and the tour guide is not responding, they should be able to respond to your call or to your text right away. Ask questions before you commit, especially if your travel agency is located outside of Italy. What makes my travel agency so unique is that as an American expat, I make sure that my team and I provide top-notch customer service level every single time, and at the same time brings local expertise available only to someone who has been living in Italy for over a decade, understands the DNA of Italy, and knows personally all the best tour guides, accommodation hosts, private drivers, restaurant owners, etc. throughout Italy. And of course, I know you guys always ask me, so I will make sure to leave you a link to the fabulous Vita travel agency in the description down below. Now let's discuss where to go in Italy. Of course, it's very personal and depends on numerous factors, like the amount of days you're staying in Italy, if this is your first time in the country of La Dolce Vita, or you've been traveling to Italy for years, the time of the year you will be traveling, because as you know, some places in Italy like Amalfi Coast are actually seasonal, etc. But if I can just give you one piece of advice, is make sure you don't just include big cities in your travel itinerary for Italy. If you're going to Italy, I strongly recommend including 1 or 2 days in the countryside or more remote locations in Italy. It will give you a completely different experience and will be a much needed break from fast-paced large Italian cities. So if you're, let's say, in Florence, definitely go in the Tuscan countryside for a night, ideally 2 or 3. And if you just don't have enough days, I recommend at least doing a day trip to one of those locations. Not packing properly. You know, I have lots of videos on what to wear in Italy in spring, summer, fall, etc., broken down by months, as well as lots of videos on Italian style and Italian fashion. You can find lots of inspiration there if you are not sure what to pack for Italy. But what I must say in general is that you have to consider that climate in Italy is quite different from north to south. So depending on where you plan on traveling in Italy, be it Lake Como or Amalfi Coast, you have to check the weather for each part of Italy you will be traveling to and plan accordingly. I mean, look guys, even right now, as I sat down to film this video, it was a beautiful sunny spring day. And now, in the matter of literally just a few minutes, the weather changed completely and it is now pretty gray and it looks like it's about to rain. And that is one thing you also need to be careful of, is during the spring and fall the weather will change quite fast and abrupt, so you need to make sure that you guys plan accordingly. And if you want to follow one rule that all the Italians follow religiously, is always dress for the season and not the weather. One of the travel mistakes to avoid when it comes to Italy is to assume that Italy is small and everything is near. A lot of times people don't understand how much time it will actually take them to get from one place in Italy to another. So they schedule day trips from Rome to Venice or from Cinque Terre to Lake Como without realizing that they will actually spend more time getting there than enjoying the place, or that they will actually have to take regional trains which are almost always destined to be late, or will have to do multiple train changes. Looks like we're going to get some sunshine in a moment, but guys, I understand you want to see as much of Italy as possible, especially those places that you heard of from your friends or family, or the ones you've seen on social media. But one of the biggest Italy mistakes that you can make is to not take into account how long it will actually take for you to get from one place in Italy to another. So a big portion of your trip will be spent on packing, unpacking, getting to the train station, being on the train, getting from the train station to the city, etc. So please do a thorough research and take into account how many days you have in Italy, distances between the cities you want to explore, and how long it will actually take for you to get from one place to another. And the final tip on this Italy travel suggestion list that I have for you is to do some research before you travel to Italy to really understand culture, traditions, mentality of this beautiful country and its people. If you want to experience the true authenticity of Italy, which I'm sure all of you do, then take some time to really get to know the country of La Dolce Vita, and not just through the movies, but to actually read about it, watch videos, documentaries, or any other way that you will find useful. This way, when you get here and you find yourself in various situations, you won't be wondering, should I tip in Italy? Or what's the polite thing to do when I enter the place? Or how to avoid being scammed in Italy? And of course, I have hundreds of useful videos on this channel. And if you're new to my channel, well, first of all, welcome. And second, I made sure to leave you links to some great videos for you to begin with in the description down below. And of course, fabulous people, being knowledgeable about Italy will not only ensure that you will have a more pleasant, authentic experience when you get here, but will also make you aware of things that you might necessarily have to think about back home. Well, fabulous people, what can I say? The sunshine is shining once again in the Eternal City, and I truly hope that you found this video useful and beneficial. And before you go and start packing for Italy, please remember to smack that like button. And if you're new to my channel and my vibe, and the vibe of this channel resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe. And I truly hope to see you all in my next video.